Hey y'all, hey, it's a new episode of Bonafide, her podcast featuring Lawrencia Moten. Pew, 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 pew.
Hey everyone.
How are you doing?
I'm great. I'm so blessed. I have nothing to complain about. Super excited for 2024.
Yes, we just blessed to be alive, girl. And I love what you're doing with everything going on. And shout out to you, girl. Shout out to
Thank
you.
you. And shout out to you too, Ash, for continuing to, continue on your dreams and stay, continuing to uplift women's basketball and women's sports in general. It's super commendable.
Thank you. It really means a lot, especially coming from you. Like, I really, girl, we could get so sentimental.
Ah,
But let's get it going. So Lala, can you tell us how you got to where you are right now from your journey start to where you are right now?
yeah. So, for those of you guys who don't know, I am a sports broadcaster and reporter. I work for different networks. I'm freelance right now, so I work for networks like ESPN, HBC Go. Um, and how I got started, I always played basketball throughout my life. My dad played in the NBA, and really, I would say how I jumped into the field was college. I was interning within our communications department, and that's what I would always say to do if you're a student athlete in college and you want to be able to like work in sports, work with your communications department at your school. And there's tons of things that you can do. And so I was working for our lacrosse games, and then I ended up working our men's basketball games, which were featured on ESPN. So it was like my foot in the door in a way. And I just kept the ball rolling.
So with that, like I think that's super awesome. Like the fact that as a student athlete, you were also working in the same time during the same season. How were you able to balance both of those things?
Well, I'm not going to lie, it was very hard. And this was before NIL. So I graduated in 2020 when it was a little taboo to have a life other than being a student athlete. So I remember being late to practices because I had my internship and getting pushback from coaches. But I always had it in my mind that that I was more than a student athlete and I wanted to impact the sports world in a bigger way. So it was hard because, when you're playing a sport at the Division 1 level specifically, oftentimes schools, coaches want you to focus all of your attention onto that, which gives you very little, if any, opportunity to truly expand and figure out what you want to do beyond that. So it was a path that I don't think anyone had taken before me at my school, which was University of Hartford. And I always kept it in my mind that, I play basketball, but I'm not just a basketball player. And I didn't necessarily want to play professionally, so it was way easier for me to make the decision to just focus my energy elsewhere. But it was hard. I can't lie and say it was easy, but now I feel like it's easier with NIL and student athletes making money. So coaches understand the importance of showcasing your life beyond just being an athlete.
Of course, like I think, girl, if NIL had hit like where you were at, them banks would be calling right now.
No, definitely. I mean, it's crazy to think about. I was 1 year late. And but everything happens for a reason because I probably would still be in school because I would have finessed the system some way, somehow to stay another year and keep letting the money roll in. So because I graduated and jumped right into my career, that's how I am so far along because I just jumped right in. But you are so right. If I was in college, I would probably still be in college to this day. And I'm 25.
Yes, because like we both connected. A lot of people don't know that we both connected through Beautiful Ballers. Like
Yes.
shout out to them. So
Yes.
like,
Shout out.
and girl, we did. It's like we connected so for girl. I don't know how long. I feel forever,
Yeah, it
but
has to be at least like 7 years, eight
yes,
years.
but girl, the bank would have been calling you with if you were still when you were during that time too.
Yeah.
And you know what I see too, like also like the platform you have provided too. Honestly, it has been amazing, and you know I notice you're huge in when it comes to representation. It really matters. Like, how has it? How what was it? What's it like for you to now be considered like and just a female woman in sport that's also really huge in representation matters now, that where say somebody look up to you as a person, look up to you, they're like, I want to be just like her. How's that feel?
Oh, I mean, I don't think it's really hit me yet, but I do when I get those messages and when I hear like people saying such nice things, it's just it's confirmation that I'm on the right path, and I'm just so grateful. But I still feel like, and I know everyone says this, I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but that's really how I feel. But I understand that even where I am right now is where I prayed to be 2 years ago. So just being very appreciative and of my support and everyone. But it's a great feeling. It's just confirmation that I'm on the right track and to keep going hard.
Yeah, and my thing is too, like, I just think what you're doing, like I said, is amazing. Like, just to be able to witness your journey from where you are to like, girl, you doing it big. And
Thank you.
what's so my question is, how were you able to transition like the sports and commentating from like the ESPN, like at the University of doing the University of Hartford to um, HBCU games now? How was that transition like?
Yeah, so it was pretty fast, right? And looking back, it was only like 3 years ago. I graduated 4 years ago, and I worked at a Division II school called University of Lynchburg, where I was commentating games for them. I was a graduate assistant for a year, and then I jumped right into local news. And so, as a reporter, everyone says you need to get your foot into the local news. So I did that for a year, and then I did not local news, but it was like community television, so like cable. And then I jumped right into doing what I'm doing now with ESPN. So it just kept building kind of, the more you have underneath you, like the more experience and the bigger the platform, the more people see you. And then, as you know, there's not that many people that are females in the space of sports, whether you're doing anything. So when you're doing a good job, people will notice, and then they'll just keep putting you on more and more and more, and like kind of like guiding you. So that's how it happened for me. Like, one person would say that I'd work with a producer, and then he'd put me on another game that he's working for another network. And then the ball just kept rolling like that, to the point now where it's like I've made a pretty good name for myself at this level. And so I've been put onto a lot of different opportunities because of it.
That's awesome. And you got to, be a commentate at the HBCU game that Chris Paul like sponsored and hosted. How was that? What was that like?
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. A first class event. It was very surreal, I think, because I was also in Connecticut. So, I went to University of Hartford. So Mohegan Sun was like the big arena other than the XL Center. So to just be back in that area was amazing. And it's so funny because I ran into the woman. Her name is Sarah Boysenot. Shout out to her. She was our communications. I don't know her actual title, but she's the person that I went to when I was at University of Hartford, and I wanted to intern within the communications department. And she put me on the games, and she was actually doing stats for the game before mine, because it was like a tournament. And it was just so surreal, just like seeing her and everything like that. Thank you. It was so surreal. Just, seeing her, and then like just hearing her tell me like how great like I'm doing. And yeah, it was just a full circle moment, Ashley, for real.
That's awesome. And like the fact that just I noticed on the clip that because you got a chance to you know just I what I love what you're doing too. You're huge on family, and I think the support of your family. You guys are very tight knitted. What's that? How does that feel to have like your family just support you, especially in everything you have done, like from basketball to now, like being at your games when you're commentating. How's that like?
I mean, it's so beautiful. just having family support is huge because, like you said, I am big on family. So yeah, you touched on it a little bit. I got to interview my dad for one of the games, and that was just beautiful. Just being able to take them on the journey with me and be able to have their genuine support. You know, some people aren't blessed with that, so I just can't say enough about it, and I'm just so blessed. That's what I'm saying. You know, like when I really like we're in 2024, I made my vision board. When I really focus on what matters, the biggest things are like family, faith, my career, and I'm just blessed to be in good standing in all of those aspects of my life right now.
Yeah, because that, you know what, you just reminded me of manifestation. Like you, if you can
Mhm.
vision it, you can see it, you do it. Like you gonna go after it and
Yeah.
stuff.
And that's everybody. I'm really big on manifesting. And I feel like even before it was, something that people were talking about on social media, I was always like envisioning. And I feel like if you don't have a plan, it's hard to even, you could be doing everything in the world, but if you don't really have a true plan as to what you want to do, it's hard. So that's another piece of advice I would give anybody who's looking to do anything. When you're a student athlete, I think it's important to make sure your major is connected to something that you want to do. Don't just say, oh, I'm just going to, do whatever my coach says is the easiest major so I can make it to practice on time. Like, really be specific about what you want to do. And even if you don't end up doing that, at least you have a path to do something, you know?
Yeah, because you notice that, like, from, like how some people, some like student athletes that have majors, like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this major, like, and stuff. So
Hmm.
it's like, why it's all, they always choose those like easy majors so they can get by with. So my question is, and I noticed too, like you were really big when 2020, the crazy things that was happening in 2020 with all the stuff. You were really very vocal about social justice. So how did that kind of like just made an impact as you as a both like a woman in sport and as a person?
Yeah, I mean, 2020 was a very interesting year for everyone. But specifically, I think for me, being home, um, for the first time, really like being able to be home with my family for like such an extended period of time, I was really able to focus a lot of my energy on like social media and read and see what's going on. Cause you think like when you're in season and you're playing, you're not really worried about the outside world. Like you are kind of like zoned in. So once I got to see what was going on and just everything that was happening to my people specifically, I couldn't help but speak out, girl. And like I said, I can talk. Okay. So that was just, I had a platform and I just decided to use it. Ahmaud Arbery's story really has always hit me. And I think that was the biggest one where I was like, okay, yeah. Just him just going for a run and just the way that everything happened for him. Um, that's when I was like, okay, yeah. I remember my mom, and my sister ended up doing his run, the Ahmaud Arbery run slash walk for social justice. And that was like kind of like getting the ball rolling. And then I'm in DC, so I was able to walk to the White House and do Black Lives Matter marches. And I'm lucky to be in a place that is so progressive. So it was a lot of opportunity to just like jump right in and be a part of it. So I took advantage.
Yeah, because it was, big, to be honest too. And you can, correct me if I'm wrong. You saw a lot of people show their true colors in 2020, especially when it
Yeah.
comes to like sporting athletes. Like, say, if
They didn't
athletes,
say anything.
yeah, like if they said something, then people are like, why did you say anything? You're not supposed
Yeah.
to say anything. You're supposed to
Mhm.
shove and dribble. Like,
Mhm. Mhm. No, yeah, and I felt the same actually in 2016 when Trump got elected. It was the same feeling of like, wow, these same people who are cheering me on and who were my friend yesterday support somebody who's so against me or people
right.
that look like me. And I just decided to not worry about who's against me and who's not against me or against my people and just focus on what I could do to make it, make the world better. And I think there was like a lot of opportunity to unify, and I wanted to be on the right side of history, so I just decided to jump right in where I saw fit.
For sure. Girl, I agree with you on the 2016 because I always tell somebody, I said, the 2 years you saw people's true colors really was 2016 and then 2020,
Yep.
especially when it comes to like athletes. And like you said, folks, the people that look like you, and you saw a lot of that. And
Mhm.
my question is, and when it comes to, would you say like when it comes to mental health, did that play a lot too with that as well, like with everything that was happening in 2020 as well?
I understood the importance of mental health since I was a baby. My mom is actually a guidance counselor. So, just understanding the power of the mind and everything was a huge deal. And I did appreciate all the athletes that ended up speaking out. Personally, I hadn't dealt with any mental health issues at that point, and thus far. But I've always understood the importance of the mind and how, speaking things into existence is real, and taking that space and that time to really focus on you and self care is huge. So I could definitely say it played a part. But 2020 was perfect because nobody was able to do anything but focus on them and their loved ones, right? And in the midst of so much chaos, there was a lot of like peace because we were at home. You had to be at home. So it allowed people to it allowed me to really focus on what mattered in the grand scheme of things.
For sure. And then my question is too, because as a for you reporting, how do you hope to see people to actually you hope to see more female women in sports doing reporting as well, like and not just see not like have a disparity, but actually more inclusion in it as well. Like you see a lot of men, but few women. Do you hope to see more women in the sports media?
For sure. I always want to see more women in this space, and I've never been the type to feel like there was competition. I feel like there's enough games, there's enough room for all of us, and if there's as many all these men, there could be all these women, and we are knowledgeable as well. And I think as sports continue to grow and as women's sports continue to grow, we got people opening the door. Like Robin Roberts is on my vision board that I made for this year because I really feel like she was a trailblazer for all of us. Um, and then I think it's even beyond sports. Like I want to do more than just sports. The podcast that I have called Beyond Ballin', talking to student athletes or athletes, professional athletes about their lives beyond the sport. Just in the journalistic space, I feel like women in general, we are so intuitive and we are so empathetic that we will ask the right questions and really cater them to someone. Oftentimes, the media has a bad rep because of the way that questions are framed and how people, how things are said. And, Skip Bayless, for instance, like
Lord have mercy.
outlandish things that he'll say sometimes. And I understand how the media could get a bad rep, but there's a lot of people who are very good at their job and can cater a question to someone without it being negative and get the same type of, the same great answer without hurting someone's feelings. And I feel like women are the people who have to do that more often because we just feel more, you know,
We're more nurturing.
we're more nurturing.
So, and that's the thing for like speaking. I need to know. You got to let the folks know what Beyond Balling is because I remember watching it, especially like when you with the collaboration of Beautiful Ballers. You would
Yeah.
interview so many people, and I
Yeah.
was loving it. Like,
Thank you. So yeah, Beyond Ballin' is my podcast, and it started, like you said, with Beautiful Ballers, and it was Instagram Live, right? Because this was 2020, so COVID, we couldn't get outside, and I got to speak to a lot of interesting women specifically, and I got to speak to a few men, using the page and talk about their lives beyond their sport. So that's kind of like the whole thing: beyond ballin', beyond the ball, or beyond your sport. Ballin' in my definition is anyone who's killing it in their respective field, right? So beyond that, kind of getting fans to know more about them. And so it did turn into an in-person podcast now that we're on the other side of the pandemic. And I've done a few interviews in person, and I need to jump back into it, Ash, because it's 2024 now and I haven't done an episode in like over 7 months because I've been so busy with work, but I need to prioritize it. But that's what Beyond Ballin is, so everyone knows.
Girl, I love it though. Like it's
Thank you.
just because you continue to show that passion, like what you do off and on the court. So, and I definitely get your point, especially like for some people in the media and journalism, like there has to be a certain tone and way to ask questions
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, as a as a sport person in journalism, you want to be able to allow that person to tell their story, but also provide that safe space for them to be trusting and stuff. So
Exactly. Exactly.
my question is, so because if you remember back in the this past NCAA tournament with with South Carolina and LSU, with somebody like there was somebody that dealt with the reporters basically calling a certain person these things, but then they'll like praise another person for doing something
Mm-hmm.
competitively.
Mm-hmm.
How do you like respond to folks that feel like it's okay to separate women's sports by a different class, or not different class, but by say like the whole Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark situation? Everybody wanted to divide those women. Like, how do you respond to those that try to divide those two women, even though they both are competitive?
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I saw a lot of the argument that was, for Caitlyn doing the same thing that Angel did, it was basically people using their own bias and trying to put it onto sport. When I know, as being a former student athlete, these girls are just playing, they're not thinking that way. And unfortunately, people use social media and things that they're not doing to back their own personal opinions. So, for those type of people, when it comes to athletes, especially like young student athletes, I just try to keep it as positive as possible. Like, as a journalist, you don't want to focus so much on the individual and what they're doing and just, but more so like the overall situation. I think people were trying to divide and create like it's no double standard. Like, you know, both of them did the same thing essentially, and I didn't see anything wrong with either of it. I like competition, and it's also in the women's game, right? So the women's game is growing, and so a lot of people weren't used to seeing that type of competitiveness with women. They're used to seeing it with men, but I loved it. And anything, listen, I'm I think all publicity is good publicity, to a certain extent. And even though a lot of people had a lot of negative things to say, it grew the women's game. And both of these awesome student athletes have now gotten so much notoriety and so much good things that have happened. It's outweighed the bad. So
Yes, and and also, just to, if there was, who would you say you would hope to interview? If there was like five people you hope to interview, whether they are within the sports media or any category, entertainment or anybody, who would you say is your top five,
they have to be alive.
dead or alive?
Okay. Well, number one, I would have to say I would love to have interviewed Michael Jackson. I just love him, and I love it's just so much that I, from a journalistic aspect, that I would love to like unpack, and I feel like I could just make him feel comfortable. Number two, Kobe. Just his mentality and his way of thinking, I think, is awesome, and it's so informative, and I feel like I would even learn a lot. Three, I would have to say LeBron, because he's such a tremendous athlete. Four, Michael Jordan, because not only was he a tremendous athlete, but he is a tremendous businessman. And so kind of how he's been able to merge those. And number five, I got to throw a girl in there. I would love to interview Beyonce. because we barely see
Oh,
Beyonce interviews nowadays, right? It's just she's so private, and I feel like that's some, if you're interviewing Beyonce, you've really made it in life.
it's you gotta all. It's like, do you have to go to Coachella? Do you have to go to like a concert to try to?
Somewhere her people talk to my people, so you
It's
know,
like, hey, it's like
because
hey, can we get a just? I just want to interview her real quickly. I just, but those are, yeah, because the Michael Jackson one, he was very private. It was also like there's been, stories where he was also like just quiet too. Like he barely did interviews. So, but who would you say are your role models in both the sports journalism and sports as well as life?
Robin Roberts, I would say, is sports journalism, because she's been able to transition to be more than just a sports reporter. But now, like with Good Morning America, she was like a staple in all of TV, which I think is huge. And then as far as life goes, role models.
Or who motivated you, would you say just motivated you the most?
Oh, I would have to say my parents. I think they both have great work ethic, and they're both very strong individuals who, always gave me confidence and always made me feel like I could do more. So just that belief motivated me and continues to motivate me. There's in to them there's nothing that I can't do. And so it's like if somebody believes in you like that, then it's not then it's I have no choice but to believe in myself that way. So that motivates me.
What would you, and was there a moment, what would you say is your proudest moment within, being in, you know, it could be both life and in the sports media?
I think my proudest moment, that's a good question, actually. My proudest moment that comes to my head right now is this Chris Paul Classic. Just because, like I said, like it was in Connecticut where I went to school. I got to run into somebody who gave me such a big opportunity, and just to be, it was like very surreal. And so I was very proud after that. And that was such a big weekend. I had a game the day before. I flew into Connecticut at like 5 a.m., had to be on air at like 2. So it was just a lot for me, and overcoming it and getting it done on such a big platform, being able to interview Chris Paul, that would say that was my biggest career moment for sure.
That's awesome. And you got to interview Chris Paul, girl.
Yeah,
Baby.
for the championship game, we got to call Chris Paul called in and we did an interview similar to this, but it was like during the live game. So it was like we interviewed him and then he was in the corner and we kept talking to him while the game was going on. It was cool.
Girl, if he is a North Carolina legend, and the
Yes, he
fact,
is. Winston-Salem State, that's where he graduated. He chose to get his degree from. His parents went there. So it was awesome. And I mean, it was his event. So it didn't get any bigger than that.
do you hope to see like more HBCU events like those be broadcasted more, as just as say like all those bowl games that people post in ESPN as well?
Yeah, and even if not broadcasting more, I would like to see more viewership on the ones that are already available, right? I would like people to tune in and see what they have to offer because the competition is there, but it's beyond that. Like from working HBCU games, it's like great sporting events, but it's also beyond that. Like the atmosphere is just unmatched. And as someone who's worked like PWI games and HBCU games, I mean, from the cheerleaders to the fans to the mascot to just the overall like swag of the schools, if they are broadcasted in the right way, it is just so much to watch that nobody will be left unsatisfied.
Because I in what would you say? You mentioned PWI and HBCU like atmosphere. What would you say like in the sports wise? Is it so different as in like when they get into their sport?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I went to a PWI, so I don't think so. But I mean, the access is different, like as far as like the money that each university has. So it might be different as far as like obviously equipment and stuff like that. But if you're a baller, you're a baller. And so no matter what level you're on, you should have that mindset of I'm going to go out and I'm going to do my best. And that's what I've been seeing from these athletes at every level.
Oh yeah, because I just I would say this like in I know for me, I remember watching a volleyball game and it was HBCU, and I've never seen like, and I went to a PWI, but it was a mid major, but like, I've never seen like the volleyball game at the HBCU. I was like very impressed because the student athletes, everybody, the students were intense with their like just loving and being invested and just, I was like, man, but Miss Lawrencia, my
Mm-hmm.
question is, if you had to tell your younger version what to expect in their journey of if they want to like, what would you tell your younger self what to expect in life?
If they want to do what I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
or my younger self of what I would tell them, what I would
Mm-hmm.
tell her,
Yes.
I would tell her to keep going hard, even when you're tired. Just remember what your goals are because they're going to come true. I mean, like when you're younger, you don't know. And so there's plenty of times when I was tired and I just didn't feel like maybe like working as hard, especially like post college. Like it was more of like a mental, um, it was a lot of mental toughness that I had to show going through, post COVID and then hopping around from jobs and a lot of like other things like outside stuff. So I would just tell myself, keep going hard because it's going to pay off and it's going to continue to pay off. And knowing that, that's why it's so easy for me to like dive in and do as much as I can now because I know how I've reaped the benefits in the past. And like in 4 years, I've done so much. And so, if I'm 25, I'm already here. By the time I'm 30, I just, you know, pedal to the metal. That's just it.
Is there for your, with the sports media that you're in, if what would you say if there's like a top five moment you would love to like witness, whether it's the ESPYS, whether it's
I
like,
want SB. I want like Women in Sports Woman of the Year for sure. Um, Other than that, I would love to host. I would love to be like there at the NBA drafts potentially, whether at the table or interviewing the athletes. Super Bowl, all the big sporting events. I would love to have them all checked off my list for sure.
so like the draft, like the NBA and WNBA
NBA
draft?
draft, WNBA draft, Super Bowl. I don't want to say. I mean, I don't know tennis as much as I. That's actually funny because tennis is on my vision board because I want to get more into tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So the U.S. Open. But I would love to every the pinnacle of every sporting event. I want to be a part of it for sure. That's the goal.
Girl, you if you can envision it and you can see yourself doing it, you better go
Mhm.
through it.
Amen.
So, what would you say? Do you hope to? What do you expect for this season for both women's basketball and sports journalism? What do you see this season happening so far, like in 2024?
Well, I feel like 2024, we're already seeing so much with like volleyball and like the viewership that they've been getting. So I'm super excited to see like the women's, the March Madness tournament and the viewership because I know people are going to tune in even more. And so the growth of like the women's platform I know is going to be amazing. And as far as like journalism goes, we're seeing a lot of athletes now telling their stories. So it's less media fed. And I think that's a great thing because athletes are now the voice of their own brand. But for as a journalist, I would love to see more journalists showing even some more of like their lives. Like I think some people have it on the hit it on the nose where like they're able to show like their real life and like their life as a journalist. But I think that's important for everybody to be a little bit more open. So I think that's going to happen more as the years progress.
For sure. And I know you have a business too. Like, can you explain like the lash business? How did you get into the lashes business? And like, just your brand? Like, can you let the viewers know about your brand as well?
Yeah, everyone shop lncmthebrands.com. We are dropping new lashes. They're coming this year in February. I started because I love strip lashes and I love being beautiful and playing with, things that are able to enhance your game but not distract you. So, for instance, like lashes, stuff like in your face, it's not distracting you, it's not obstructing your vision or anything like that, but it could also be amazing. It can make you feel amazing, look good, play good. So that's how I started. And it's transformed to be more than that. Now that I'm on the other side of things, we do cater obviously to the more like the girl who wants to wear lashes every day but doesn't want to get individuals, for whatever reason, wants that versatility. And I got new styles that will be dropping in February. Um, Literally, like this month, it is go time. So if you guys don't already, check out our Instagram page, lncm.thebrands, because I will be posting like new updates on like when we're dropping each of the lashes. And I'm super excited. Thanks for asking, because it's been like 3 years and I figured why not? Like I love strip lashes and I'm like, wait, I should be wearing my own again. So that's kind of how it started. And we're gonna pick up where we left off, which was pretty good. We had pretty good numbers to start off.
Do you like, have you thought of like with that, have you thought of having like, say, somebody that's a student athlete, like thought of doing like NIL deals with some of the student athletes that wear the lashes, or is that like
I
kind of,
think that's something very interesting that we can definitely explore. To start though, I think definitely brand ambassadors. So whether it's in exchange for product post, keeping it simple, but you know, I'm all for a genuine partnership. So whatever that looks like, I am down for it.
yeah, because I, kudos to you and everybody. I don't know, like I be like, y'all are brave to wear the lashes, makeups, and nails. Like y'all got this. I don't. I tried playing basketball with nails one time and they broke. And kudos, I love it though. I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank
So Miss Lawrencia, what makes you Bonafide, which means authentic and certified, and what makes your story stands out from others?
I mean, I feel like everyone's journey is their journey, right? And so for me, I guess it's just that this is like the path that God has blessed me on. And I'm just so happy to be able to tell my story and inspire people in any way that that looks like. I never want to be seen as somebody who's above thou or not like I want to be able to connect to people. And so I think that also makes me different because I want to help people um, in ways that I didn't receive help. So yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. Like, just like you said, because, you know, you're very authentic, like since day one, period.
Thank
Like,
you.
and, and like I said, shout out to you. And I just want to give you your flowers and everything because,
Thank you.
yes. Can you let the viewers know how and where they can support and follow you and what you have any upcoming events going on?
Yeah. So we're jumping right back into the season. Conference season's coming up with the HBCU basketball. So you guys can tune in on HBCU Go. Check out hbcugo.tv for all the places that you can watch, whether streaming out on Apple TV or if you have cable. But you can follow me on Instagram at lala.moten. So kind of like how my name is right here, but with a dot in the middle on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. I don't think I have the dot because they don't allow you to have that on Twitter handles, but I'm on Threads, Snapchat, all the things, and YouTube. That's how you can check out my podcast. So all those great places. And like I said, make sure to check out my business page, lncm.thebrand, for all things my business upcoming.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Lawrencia,
so much,
for coming
Ash.
on.
This was fun.
Yes, y'all. Thank
Good
you
job.
again.
Keep this up. Keep this up. This is awesome.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you guys. Thank you for tuning in to Bonafide Her podcast. Peace.